Fair warnings, babes. This is an adult podcast made for adults. We dive into historical events that might make some of y'all blush or feel uncomfortable over. So, if you are not an adult or an adult who prefers to steer clear of topics that get a little naughty, now might be the time to click away. For the rest of you darling souls, hello and welcome. Ready to pay for it? Me too. But before we dive in, if you love your history with a spicy twist, please consider subscribing on your favorite platforms. It really helps us keep going. Alright, enough foreplay. Let's head straight into the red light district. I'm ready if you are.
I got something between my legs that'll make a dead man come. Oh, that. I got something between my legs that'll make a dead man come. Oh, that. Back my mattress and let you all my springs. I want you to find me, daddy, till the bell do ring. Oh, daddy, I want you to shade the sky.
Hello, my name is Summer, and this is Paying for It. Thank you for being here for episode 44. Hello, my lovely listeners, and welcome back to Paying for It. You already know that this is a podcast where we dive into the untold stories of ladies of the evening, their glittering highs, their scandalous lows, and everything in between. Whether you're a history buff, a drama lover, or just here for the tea, you are in the right place. Before we jump into today's episode, let me remind you what makes this podcast so special. We're not just here rehashing old textbooks or history books. Oh no, babes. We're here bringing the sass, the elegance, and a dash of humor to the stories of women who lived unapologetically and reshaped their world, one red light district at a time. If you've been with us for a while, welcome back. You know the drill. Sit back, relax, and prepare for another jaw-dropping chapter. And if you're new here, don't worry. You're not late to the party. We've got plenty of episodes to catch up on, and every single one is dripping with intrigue and inspiration. But before we dive into today's deliciously messy story, let's talk about how you can keep the Paying for It magic alive. Please follow us on social media, whether you're scrolling through Instagram, liking tweets on X, or diving into the Tik Tok content. We're there with all the behind the scenes goodies, and you can find us at Paying for Media. And or visit our website at payingforitmedia.com. You'll find bonus content, photos of the places and people we talk about, and maybe even some resources if you're feeling like a history detective yourself. Leave a review. That is so important, y'all. Your reviews help others find this podcast and give me the warm and fuzzies. Plus, it's your chance to tell me what you love and what you want more of. And of course, share this podcast with your friends. I mean, why wouldn't you? Who doesn't love a good scandal-filled history lesson told with a little extra sparkle? All right, now that we've handled the business side of things, let's get back to what you're really here for. You know this show is all about women who refuse to play by the rules, who build their own empires, and who left an unforgettable mark on history. Today's episode is no exception, and I promise it's going to be one heck of a ride. But before we get to all of that, how the heck are you? And happy freaking holidays! Clearly I'm feeling very cozy and Christmassy. Can you not tell? My outfit here is just straight up Grinch PJs. And I've got my Grinch tree in the back. And we're festive here at Paying For It, okay? So we got a new Christmas tree this year. And I was like, we are definitely not getting rid of my old tree. As you can tell, it is, well, I think you can tell if you're watching on YouTube. But if you're just listening, it is a black tree that has green lights on it and a little tinsel. And so we also have the Grinch and his grumpy face as the tree topper. But yeah, we still got our red light in the back and we are vibing. I think my headphone just went out. Let me see here. Or maybe I'm just talking too loud, which is honestly, no. Makes sense for me. Oh, I'm unplugging it as I'm talking. I'm a mess sometimes. What can I say? Anyways, I felt like today would be the perfect episode just to be cozy and comfy and enjoy the Christmas vibes. And I hope that you're doing the same. I also hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and if that's something you're into, you celebrated it just the way you wanted to. And I hope that if you're into the Christmas festivities or any other holiday festivities, you are living it to its fullest and having the best time doing it. We went to we went to this place right after Thanksgiving, and we didn't even know it existed around here, but it was just like a little old Christmas decoration store. I don't think it's just Christmas, but when we went there, it was pretty much all Christmas. And like I said, we had just gotten a new tree, and we got these beautiful, beautiful decorations. So our tree this year is gorgeous, but we could not find a Christmas topper. I don't know if they just don't exist anymore or what the heck, but we could not find one. But afterwards, I was like, I know this perfect little restaurant we can go to, and we should have some lunch there. And it was really funny because it's just a Christmas-themed Mexican restaurant for no good reason. Other than, like their menu is not even Christmassy. Their name isn't Christmassy. Just when you go inside, it's fully decked out Christmas style. So, I mean, 'tis the season, right? That's what we did. But yeah, that is where we're at. We're getting prepared for the Christmas season, or we're kind of already in it. And yeah, we're just living our best life over here. And I hope you're doing the exact same thing. However you like to spend the holidays, whether you spend them at all or you're just living your normal life, I hope it's great. However you choose to do the Decembers. All right. Are you ready to get into it? Me too. Let's do it, shall we? So, grab your headphones, your favorite drink, maybe a fan to cool yourself off, because things are about to get steamy, sassy, and oh so scandalous. Let's dive in. If you are just tuning in and haven't listened to part 1 and 2 of Lizzie Lape's incredible story, you're missing out on all the juicy details that set the stage for her rise and all the drama that came with it. From her humble beginnings in Kentucky to her early years navigating love, scandal, and ambition in Moran, Ohio, these episodes were packed with the grit and the glamour that makes Lizzie's story unforgettable. So go back, give them a listen, and catch up on all the twists and turns and tea before diving into what's next in this episode, then come back to us. Trust me, you'll thank yourself later. For the rest of us, let's take a moment to catch up on Lizzie Lape's wild journey so far. In part 1, we uncovered her humble beginnings in Whitley County, Kentucky, and followed her path to Ohio, where she navigated marriage, independence, and the challenges of making her way in post-Civil War era. Part 2, Lizzie had fully embraced her entrepreneurial spirit, running the White Pigeon in Moraine while balancing her fiery relationships, legal battles, and some high-profile drama, including a connection to a young Warren G. Harding. She even managed to expand her empire to Akron, proving that Lizzie was no stranger to ambition or controversy. Now, with marriages behind her, fresh challenges ahead, Lizzie is stepping into her next chapter. In part 3, we'll dive into her fight to protect her legacy, the surprising alliances she forms, and the clever way she keeps her name in the headlines. Ready to jump back in? Let's go. In this episode, we're diving headfirst into Lizzie Lape's next chapter, a whirlwind of scandal, strategy, and survival. We'll explore her surprising friendships with lawyers turned mayors, Lorazano Darwaters, and how her high-powered legal battles helped him secure another term in office. Then, buckle up for a jaw-dropping drama of Lizzie's marrying a son, divorcing him, and setting her sights on his father. But the intrigue doesn't stop there. The notorious syntax will come knocking, followed by the enchantment of the infamous Win Law, a game changer that reshaped the rules of Lizzie's world. As prohibition laws tightened their grip, Lizzie's life takes on even more twist. A bad Thanksgiving burn, whispers of a secret pregnancy, and yet another marriage on the horizon. Ready for the next wild ride through Lizzie's incredible story? Let's get into it, shall we? So with that, you know what time it is. Grab yourself a cocktail, a mocktail, coffee, whatever you fancy. Today, I am going to have a little bit of wine. Might as well, since we're Christmas cozy. Seems fitting. I've been holding on to this can of wine, and normally I don't do canned wine, but I've been holding on to it for a while. When it comes to wine, I usually am a Pinot Noir girly, but this one is a Pinot Grigio, and it is organ grown. It's Underwood, and it's in a limited edition, so might as well try it. Pinot Grigio is the same, it's the same grapes that Pinot Noirs are, except they are the white version. So when it comes to white wines, I prefer the Pinot Grigio and the Sauvignon Blancs. Pouring it in my fancy wine glass. Is that a giant glass? Maybe. I kind of assumed that this would be one glass. I don't know why I thought that, to be honest. Anyways, cheers, 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 cheers. And let's jump back into the life of Ohio's infamous Madam Lizzie Lape. Cheers. It has a horrible nose, but it tastes fine. I like it. Okay, so we left Lizzie in 1890, so let's set the scene. It's 1890, and Lizzie Lape is making some bold moves. Fresh off of her divorce from Jack Lazar, cannot still say that name. She signs her ownership of the White Pigeon, her bordello, to she signs ownership of the White Pigeon, her bordello, and saloon to her lawyer, Lorenzo Waters. But this isn't just about settling a scandalous child support lawsuit against her. Oh no, hiring Lorenzo, my dumbass. I've been calling him the wrong name, and I knew this, and I don't know why I've been saying it the way I've been saying it, because the whole time I've been writing, I've been saying it correct. I've just don't know what's wrong with me. I cannot speak, apparently. Lorenzo, her lawyer, wasn't just a legal strategy. It was survival and swabby all rolled into one. By transferring the White Pigeon to Lorenzo, Lizzie ensured the creation of a trust fund for her son, Arvell Lape. But let's be real, there was more at play here. Lorenzo wasn't just any lawyer, he was Akron's mayor, with his eyes set on re-election. Lizzie, with her infamous reputation, wasn't just his client. She was headline material. A high-profile case tied to a woman like Lizzie was sure to make waves, and Lorenzo knew exactly how to write them. So was Lizzie leveraging his power for her own protection, or was Lorenzo the one truly benefiting, using Lizzie's name and notoriety to drum up publicity for his re-election campaign? Maybe it was a bit of both, a mutual transaction in time when survival often required clever alliances. Whatever the case, Lizzie wasn't stepping down quietly. Instead, she was securing her place in a world, even if it meant shaking hands with politics to do it. And as Lorenzo pushed for another term, Lizzie's connections to Akron's political And as Lorenzo pushed for another term, Lizzie's connection to Akron's political powerhouse hinted that her story was far from over. In true Lizzie Lape's fashion, she didn't skip a beat after handing over ownership of the White Pigeon. In Akron, she kept her momentum, expanding her business empire with the opening of the Halfway House. Now, what a name choice, right? Especially considering the timing. This new bordello debuted just after Lizzie and her then husband, Jack, were released from the Cleveland workhouse, which a workhouse is pretty much where you get sentenced. It's like hard labor for the time. But don't let the irony slip past you. While the name might have raised a few eyebrows, it's actually had a practical purpose, marking its location as the halfway point between Akron and Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. A strategic spot for travelers needing a little rest and relaxation before continuing on their journey. Lizzie had a knack for turning even the most unexpected circumstances into an opportunity, and the Halfway House was no exception. With this new establishment, Lizzie wasn't just bouncing back. She was staking her claim as a force to be reckoned with in the red light landscape of Ohio. True to her bold and unpredictable form, Lizzie soon caught the eye of a young Akron gentleman, Harry C. DeWitt. 11 years her junior, Harry didn't seem to mind Lizzie's experience, and the two dove headfirst into a whirlwind romance. On October 27th, 1890, just 1 month after her divorce from Jack, Lizzie and Harry were married. Side note, our girl Lizzie has no time for heartbreak, does she? She's the queen of the on to the next mentality, brushing off the dust of failed love and stepping into the next chapter without missing a beat. And where did the two tie the knot? Well, Canton, Ohio, home of Akron's notorious red light district. Now, if that's not a little peek into the nature of their relationship, I don't know what is. Lusty? Probably. Impulsive? Most definitely. But who are we to judge Lizzie's love life? She was living boldly, passionately, and unapologetically. Let's take a closer look at Lizzie's latest flame, Harry C. DeWitt, shall we? Gambling was his trade, though let's just say his luck seemed to favor the house more often than him. While he may have initially charmed Lizzie with his youthful energy and carefree demeanor, the shine of young, fun Harry likely faded as his bankroll drained. For Lizzie, this union may have been more strategic than sentimental, though a little fun certainly never hurts. Harry's father, John DeWitt, was a well-known, connected man in Akron's vice scene. He owned saloons, had ties to major brewing companies, and was deeply entrenched in the liquor business. With that level of influence, it's hard to believe Lizzie's love for Harry was purely coincidence. But as with most of Lizzie's relationships, the honeymoon didn't last long. By February, local newspapers were running stories about none other than Miss Lizzie DeWitt. Herself this time with a headline about her arrest. So what exactly went down between Lizzie, Harry, and the law? Let's dive in to this next chapter of drama, shall we? On February 13th, 1891, the Akron Beacon Journal ran a familiar headline. Miss Harry Lizzie DeWitt arrested and fined again for running a house of assignation. For Lizzie, this was hardly groundbreaking news, just another occupational hazard. But this time, things seemed to shift at 113 Lodge Avenue. Was it the arrest? Perhaps, but personally, I think it was less about Lizzie's brush with the law and more about the fine that followed. With less money at Harry's disposal to throw around at the tables, Lizzie might have tightened her purse strings. After all, while marrying Lizzie came with its perks, access to her funds being chief among them, it's doubtful she was willing to bankroll Harry's losing streak forever. Something tells me our young gambler didn't take kindly to having the financial reins pulled in. And with tensions brewing, the cracks in the Lizzie and Harry's whirlwind marriage were about to deepen. On March 19, 1891, the Akron Beacon Journal provided a telling glimpse into Lizzie and Harry's unraveling relationship with an article titled "Into the Mud." The piece paints a vivid picture of a confrontation that was anything but private, offering a peek into the souring dynamics of their whirlwind union. It's literally read, "Saloon keeper DeWitt throws his wife out of buggy." This morning, serious complaints was made at police headquarters against Harry DeWitt, keeper of the halfway place between Akron and Cuyahoga Falls. DeWitt had been having trouble with his wife for the last week or more. This morning, DeWitt started for Akron in her new buggy. DeWitt protested against her going, and when she started from home, he ran out into the streets and stopped the horse, turning it about and upset the buggy. Miss DeWitt was thrown out into the mud. She was not hurt, but the buggy was somewhat demolished. The affray was lively for the time, and interesting developments are expected in court. In true Lizzie fashion, drama followed her as naturally as breathing. But this particular incident shines a light not only on her tumultuous romance with Harry, but also on the very public spectacle their marriage seemed to have become. Because it mentioned that he'd been having trouble with his wife all week. So clearly things were happening and people were talking. 2 days later, on March 21st, 1891, Lizzie files for divorce, citing extreme cruelty as the reason. And honestly, can you blame her? A fiery romance fueled by drama, gambling, and a public mudslinging can only sustain itself for so long. Lizzie clearly decided that whatever advantage came with being connected to Harry's father, John DeWitt, were no longer worth the daily turmoil of dealing with Harry himself. But here's the thing about Lizzie. She's a survivor. She doesn't stay down for long. And she certainly doesn't stay without powerful allies. In fact, it looks like Lizzie came out on top of this mess, proving once again that she was a master at turning chaos into opportunity. Because on April 17th, 1891, Miss Mary DeWitt, Harry's mother and John's wife, passes away, leaving the elder DeWitt grieving and lonely. And babes, what does Lizzie do? Well, nothing says revenge quite like moving on up the family tree. Lizzie did exactly that. She turned her connection with John into a new chapter, one that's equal parts shocking and strategic. She gets with his motherfucking dad. Oh my God, I'm kind of obsessed. Like holiday dinners? Come on. That shit had to be incredibly funny and extremely awkward as hell. I cannot get over this. When I will tell you, when I was reading the book, I have it right here, so let's just promo it again. Looking for Lizzie by Deborah Lape, her great-great-granddaughter. When I was reading and I got to the part where she gets with his dad, I was like, my jaw hit the floor. What a moment. What a motherfucking moment for her. Like that, I can't get over it. It is too good. She said, you know what? I don't need the young one. It's all good. I'll go for his dad. He's better anyways. By October 14th, 1891, just shy of her first wedding anniversary with Harry, Lizzie was granted a divorce, clean and simple, with no alimony exchanged. But our Lizzie wasn't one to dwell. Oh no, while Harry was sulking and probably losing more money gambling, Lizzie had already leveled up. Enter John C. DeWitt, Harry's father. It seems John saw an opportunity to right his son's wrongs and swoop in with a promise to give Lizzie the stability or perhaps the business partnership Harry could never manage. And let's face it, Lizzie wasn't going to turn down a man with influence, connections, and 18 years of experience on his son. Just 3 weeks after her divorce was finalized, the Akron Summit County Marriage Book records a new chapter in Lizzie's life, her marriage to John C. DeWitt. Was it love, strategy, or just pure Lizzie being Lizzie? Either way, she was proving once again that she always landed on her feet, and sometimes straight into the arms of her ex's father, apparently. Oh, darling, if you thought Lizzie's life was already a whirlwind, her marriage to John D. Witt only turned up the drama. Naturally, her ex-husband, now stepson, Harry, was not thrilled about this new family arrangement. I mean, can you blame him? Lizzie was now not only his stepmother, but also running the show with the man who cleaned up his gambling debts more times than he could count. And it didn't take long for the family tension to boil over into a public spectacle. Enter the Akron Beacon Journal with its November 10th, 1891 headlines, Tooth and Nail. It reads, Harry DeWitt sails into his father, John. Harry DeWitt and his father, John, are in trouble again and have been arrested, charged with disorderly conduct. Since John stole his son's wife, Harry has led a dissolute life. He is without money or occupation, and his sole object seems to be to get even with his father. This morning, Harry met his father and his divorced wife on North Howard Street in front of Borders Meat Market. The instant he seen John, he sailed into him, hitting him twice in the face. For a few minutes, father and son had a lively scrimmage and tongue-lashing contest on the sidewalk. Harry soon ran into the streets and called for an officer to come and arrest him. Officers Harris and Gullett responded and gave the case their attention. Harry claims that his father married his divorced wife yesterday. Ah, the irony of it all. Harry, jobless, broke, drunk, and, get this, basically calling the cops on himself after attacking his father. It's almost poetic in its messy, late Victorian soap opera kind of way. Imagine the scene. Harry, his fist flying, then immediately turning to the officer like, "Arrest me, sir. I've done a crime." Not exactly the most strategic move, but hey, at least he's honest. Now, let's talk about the spicy little tidbit from the article that suggested that Lizzie's divorce and marriage to his dad are what sent Harry spiraling. And while I'm sure that added a little extra seasoning to his disaster stew, let's not pretend Lizzie lit the match here. From what we've seen, Harry's life was already doing a swan dive into chaos way before Lizzie pivoted to his father. If you ask me, and of course, this is just my 2 cents, it seems Lizzie pegged Harry as a stepping stone to the real power player, his father. She likely thought Harry would inherit his dad's business, suavity, and influence, but when that didn't pan out, she recalibrated. Lizzie wasn't about to hitch her wagon to someone who couldn't keep up, and honestly, can't blame her for that one. So was Harry's life already sliding downhill before Lizzie swapped him out for his dad? Absolutely. She just gave the train a gentle nudge towards rock bottom. So we cannot blame her for his fuck-ups, for his inability and Daddy was already rich, so he felt like he didn't have to work kind of thing, it seems like. And he had a gambling problem. That is not Lizzie's fault, but it was not a good match made. Okay. These articles, when you get into the life of Lizzie and any other girl or women who lived their life in the vice districts, they always love to point fingers. But, hello, they always love to point fingers, all while casually dropping the fact that this man is not doing what he should be doing, but pretending like that doesn't matter. This is 100 and some on years ago, my dears, okay? So I want you to remember, for ladies, there was literally no jobs offered. And we'll get to see that in part 4 a little bit, on how hard it is for women to be successful, to live the kind of lifestyle Lizzie was, and how you really, really, really had to do some things and protect yourself. She had to protect herself, and she had to make sure she was doing what was right for her money, her business, and her name. And he just wasn't it. That's not her fault. Cheers to that. Now, getting with his dad, maybe that was a little bit harsh, but you only live once, right? So now let's get to the question I'm sure that's on everyone's mind. What about Arvell? Lizzie's only son that we know of has been a bit of a mystery to history in the midst of her wild escapades. We know that Lizzie's move to Akron came with the drama of the child support case, forcing her to sign over the white pigeon to her lawyer, Lorenzo Waters, as part of a trust for Arvell. And after his father, Jeremiah Lape, passed away in 1890, it seemed Arvell was left solely in Lizzie's orbit. Or was he? Arvell, caught in the whirlwind of Lizzie's world, but seemingly kept at arm's length. By 1891, the 13-year-old was living alone at 313 North Harwood in Akron, a sobering detail that reveals a lot about Lizzie's priorities. It appears that after his father's passing, Arvell was uprooted and moved closer to his mother and closer to his mother's dealings. Because mind you, even though we've been talking about Lizzie's drama, this entire time she is in and out of keeping and owning and running brothels, bordellos. She's in the line of selling sex. So he is brought into this world at 13 years old. I'm sure he kind of had some kind of idea about it through his father before his father passed, but who knows? Maybe his father kept him very at distance with that. But now that he's with his mother, he's in this world, and she is going to go on to really mentor him into eventually, hopefully, following in her footsteps. Yet Lizzie wasn't exactly ready to play doting mom, nor was she keen on having a teenager cramp her vice-driven lifestyle. But just as Lizzie was spinning plates between marriages and business ventures, a new player enters the scene. That would be John C. DeWitt, Lizzie's soon-to-be husband, and unexpectedly, Arvell's guardian? On April 29th, 1891, John filed for legal guardianship of Arvell, and this is before they have gotten married. And here's where things get juicy. John's paperwork claimed he was Jeremiah Lape's brother, making Arvell his nephew. Now, darling, we know that's a tall tale. John wasn't related to Jeremiah at all. Why the sudden interest in Arvell? Was it genuine act of care, a calculated move to win Lizzie's heart, or something more strategic to tie himself to the trust fund tied up in Arvell's name? Whatever the motivation, this move adds another layer to Lizzie's very complicated relationships and raises even more question about the dynamics in her household. It's all so scandalous, isn't it? But John wasn't done making moves, was he? After securing guardianship of young Arvell, John went one step further, or should I say one pension further, because he will apply for Jeremiah Lape's military pension, claiming it as a rightful means to support Arville. Convenient, isn't it? Once approved, John gained access to that pension and would draw from it for the next 4.5 years. Now, whether those funds were genuinely used for Arville's care or were just padding in John's pockets, well, history keeps that secret tightly sealed, but we can only imagine. Was it a selfish act to help a boy left in limbo, or another calculated play in John's strategy to solidify his ties to Lizzie and her world? One thing is certain, Lizzie sure had a knack for surrounding herself with people who knew how to work the system, and John, he was no exception. This twist leaves us wondering just how much of Arville's trust and welfare were genuinely prioritized. But knowing Lizzie's story, you can bet this is just one chapter in a saga that only gets juicier. Let's keep unraveling. All right, darlings, let's hit pause on the whirlwind of Lizzie's personal life, messy marriages, dramatic divorces, and all, and step back and examine the political climate brewing in the world around her. Because, trust me, what's happening outside her bedroom is about to shake up her entire business model. To truly understand the storm heading Lizzie's way, we'll need to rewind the clock a bit and explore how larger societal shifts were about to strike where it hurts most, her pocketbook and her power. In the late 19th century, reform movements were gaining momentum across the United States. Prohibition, temperance advocates, and social reforms were all rallying to curb what they viewed as the moral decay of society, targeting vice like gambling, drinking, and yes, the selling of sex. These crusaders weren't just clutching their pearls in churches. They were lobbying legislators, enacting laws, and getting organized. And guess what? Businesses like Lizzie's saloons, bordellos, and other dens of iniquity were squarely in their crosshairs. One particularly damning development was the rise of the sin tax, a financial weapon designed to bleed businesses associated with vice. For Lizzie, this meant that her profits were no longer just hers to keep. She had to pay a premium for operating in a professional society deemed immoral. But the hits didn't just stop there. As the 1890s progressed, more restrictive laws like the Wynne Law in Ohio would target establishments selling alcohol, doubling down on the challenges for entrepreneurs like Lizzie. For someone as resourceful as our girl, you might think these obstacles would be just another day in the office. But that wasn't just about dodging a fine or smoothing over a scandal. These laws were designed to dismantle the world Lizzie thrived in, piece by piece. How does a woman who always found a way to stay ahead of the game cope with a system that is determined to take her down? That's the big question. All right, let's talk about how politics and purse strings collide, shall we? In 1886, Republican Ohio Governor Joseph B. Foraker passed the infamous Dow Law, also known as the quote-unquote sin tax. This piece of legislation was aimed squarely at the establishments associated with vice, like saloons and bordellos, and it landed a heavy blow on entrepreneurs like Lizzie. The law required operators of these businesses to pay a $200 fine per year per location. Now, let's put that in perspective in today's dollars. That's roughly $6,716 per establishment annually. For someone like Lizzie, who we know had at least 3 houses under her empire, the tax ballooned to $600 a year, which is equivalent to over $20,148 today. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, the Dow Law didn't stop there. The tax rate kept climbing annually. By 1906, Lizzie was shelling out $1,000 per house, a staggering $35,074 in today's money per location. Ouch, indeed. That's a massive hit to anyone's bottom line, even someone as suave and resourceful as Lizzie. This wasn't just a simple fee, it was a deliberate financial chokehold meant to discourage businesses like hers from thriving. But let's not forget who we're talking about. Lizzie wasn't one to shy away from a challenge, even when the odds seemed stacked against her. How she managed to navigate this mounting financial pressure while keeping her empire afloat and her enemies at bay is just another testament to her resilience. Lizzie may have been grappling with a hefty burden of the sin tax, but she wasn't about to let it knock her hustle. Sure, $200 per house back then, equivalent to thousands today, was no small fee. But if there was one thing we've learned about our girl Lizzie, is that she was relentlessly resourceful. And let's be honest, even in the late 19th century, sex was selling, and Lizzie knew exactly how to package it, market it, and make it irresistible. But not only that, her and her new man, they pivoted and started making these liquor stores and tasting rooms where they were still getting fines, but it no longer fell under certain guidelines, okay? So they were finding loopholes as they were going. Her ability to tap into the oldest profession with flair and finesse wasn't just a business strategy, it was an art form. Lizzie had a knack for creating spaces that weren't just bordellos, they were experiences. So while others were being shut out with these taxes, she was kind of thriving. Whether it was through luxury, secrecy, or a touch of scandal, Lizzie kept her clients coming back for more. Tax burden or not. So while the state was busy trying to nickel and dime her into submission, Lizzie was busy turning her product into a hot commodity. She wasn't just surviving, she seemed to be thriving, proving that no amount of legislation, roadblocks could dull her entrepreneurial edge. Because if there's one thing Lizzie Lape understood, it's that when it comes to demand, sex doesn't just sell, it practically flies off the shelves. Then in May 1894, the Wynne Law was enacted, and this one was a law that hit hard for those who found their livelihoods in vice, as the law stated that it was unlawful to sell liquor in house of ill fame. Now let's talk about the absolutely wild Wynne Law, because this one is a game changer in the story of Lizzie's empire. Named after John W. Wynne, an attorney and representative of the Anti-Saloon League, this law essentially turned everyone into vigilante tax collectors. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. Here's how it worked. The Wynn law allowed a finder's fee for anyone who, quote unquote, discovered illegal liquor sales in saloons or houses of ill repute. This meant that literally anyone, including a satisfied customer, walking out the door could report a saloon or bordello and sue them for a cut of the tax collected. Imagine having to pay a tax just to operate your business, only for the law to create an incentive for your Patreons to turn around and report you. Wild, right? Imagine today if you were like going to a bar and or like a casino or something, like you just were going out and you knew that gambling wasn't okay. So you go to a casino, you're allowed to gamble in said casino, but say there's a law that says you can't gamble and drink, but everyone that's kind of the vibe, okay? Sadly, it is. It's just, that's what vice is. People go out to drink and have a good time. They want to party, okay? And as we pour ourselves some more wine, anyways, you go out, you've been there plenty of times. You know these people. They're going to deal you cards. They're going to bring you a cocktail, a little glass of wine, a scotch, whatever you fancy. And then you're like, I lost. Or I won good. Or whatever it is. Walk out the door and then sue them. That is wild. That is wild. But people, of course, are going to do it because money rules everything and money means everything. So, of course, if they have the opportunity, they're going to take it, sadly. The real kicker, Lizzie was already shelling out the hefty sin tax just to legally sell liquor in her establishment. But then the Wynn law swooped in and made it illegal to sell liquor in those very same saloons and houses. But she still had to pay the sin tax. So it made no sense, like 0 cents at all. And that sometimes is how it is. It was a vicious legal loop designed to, like I said, bleed businesses like Lizzie's dry. They were trying to basically bankrupt them, all while empowering optimistical tattletales to cash in. This law wasn't just a financial strain, it was direct assault on Lizzie's way of operating. So it was a real kick in the teeth. But you can't not sell liquor while in these places because sex, liquor, gambling, it kind of went all hand in hand. And it kind of just was the name of the game. And it wasn't like she could get out of paying the sin tax, but she also had to be very careful who she allowed in her businesses because anyone could sue her. And I'm sure that was the biggest piss off. I'd be so annoyed. I'd be so annoyed. John and Lizzie seem like the power duo Akron never knew it needed or feared. Both ambitious, driven, and ready to expand their empire of adult entertainment, they were two sides of the same ambitious coin. Together, they had big dreams of turning Akron into their personal playground of vice and indulgence, with plans for an empire that would dominate the scene. But as it is often the case with strong personalities and high stakes, ambition has a way of turning partners into rivals. Whether it was greed, control, or plain old stubbornness, cracks started forming in the once promising partnership, And when things soured, Lizzie wasn't about to wait around for John to make the first move. In early 1894, Lizzie Lape was sharing her home at 618 North Howard with her husband, John DeWitt, as well as her brother and sister-in-law. It seemed like a full house and on the surface, a picture of bustling family life. However, as her divorce proceedings against John began to unfold, the cracks in that facade became impossible to ignore, of course. At some point during this tumultuous period, Lizzie made the decision to move out of the shared household. She will relocate to 209 North Howard, a house that her son Arville had been living in. This move was more than just a change of address. It marked a shift in Lizzie's independence and a step towards, again, reclaiming her control over the life amidst the chaos. True to her fiery and fearless nature, Lizzie fired the opening salvo in what would become yet another chapter in her legendary series of love, loss, and legal battles. However, for this relationship, they both had way more to lose than the other men she had in her life. As when they united in marriage, they also united their business affairs as well. But during the marriage, they also went in on several different businesses together. So for Lizzie, separating in general was the most dangerous time for her normally, because she could lose it all. But in this moment, it was extremely dangerous because this man was powerful. He was already powerful when they got married. And normally in this time period, during divorces, courts would often favor the men. And she was always at risk to losing her entire business empire. However, on the flip side, this was Lizzie's husband, number 5. And she had been getting pretty good at successfully retaining her property after a separation. She does this by hiring some damn good lawyers. And this would be no different. On April 13th, 1895, Judge Burris, clearly becoming something of a regular in Lizzie's courtroom drama, delivered the verdict in her latest divorce. In Akron Beacon Journal, article titled "Divorce Case Decided" reads, Judge Burris yesterday rendered his decision in the case of Elizabeth DeWitt versus John C. DeWitt, giving the plaintiff a divorce, custody of child, alimony, and rights to property. So she basically won it all. And when I mean all, she won it all. She got everything. As 1894 drew to a close, it became clear that Lizzie Lape's resilience would be tested yet again. This year had already been tumultuous with her divorce proceedings and her move to a new home, but fate wasn't quite done with her. On November 26, 1894, just 3 days before Thanksgiving, Lizzie and her friend, Miss Carrie Hawks, found themselves in a perilous situation while preparing dinner. A gasoline stove unexpectedly exploded, leaving both women with severe burns to their face and hands. Though the injuries were not life-threatening, they were undoubtedly painful and required a lot of time to heal, a lot of money. These incidents added yet another layer to Lizzie's story, a moment of vulnerability in life often defined by strength and determination. Just as Lizzie was recovering from the tumultuous events of late 1894, the beginning of 1895 brought a mysterious development in her life. On January 18th, 1895, Lizzie is believed to have given birth to a baby girl, Edna Lape, in Columbus, Ohio. The child was christened in Pickaway County with Lizzie's name as the mother, but no father listed on the records. Edna's story is one shrouded in mystery. After this single mention of her birth, she disappears entirely from historical records, leaving us with more questions than answers. Why the secrecy? Why no father listed? And most hauntingly, what became of Edna? It's suggested that Lizzie may have kept this pregnancy under wraps, likely fearing it could have been used against her in her ongoing divorce. If DeWitt was not the father, or if he used that against her, even if he was the father, it would have been a scandal that could have jeopardized her case, her reputation even further. This brief but compelling chapter adds another layer to Lizzie's already integrated life, a hidden narrative of motherhood, secrecy, and the complexities of her relationships. So, what's next for the 42-year-old divorcee, seasoned businesswoman, and mother of a teenage boy and baby girl? Well, if you're keeping up with Lizzie, you already know the answer. She's gonna dive headfirst back into work. Lizzie wasn't the type to sit and wallow in heartbreak or setbacks. She dusted herself off and did what she always did best, making plans to reclaim her spot in the world of vice and entertainment. With her son in tow and years of experience under her belt, Lizzie was ready to dive back into the game, proving once again that she was not a woman easily kept down. And that's where we leave Lizzie for now, a 42-year-old divorcee, single mother, and unshakable entrepreneur, ready to dive headfirst back into her work, but don't think for a second the drama ends here. In part 4, we'll explore how Lizzie rebuilds again her empire, navigates the ever-changing landscape of vice in Ohio, and faces new challenges that threaten to topple her hard-earned success. From business highs to personal lows, and maybe even another romance or two, Lizzie's story is far from over. So stay tuned, because this roller coaster ride is just getting started. Okay, so let's get into my final thoughts. Can we just talk about how messy Miss Lizzie Lape was? Like, son and father combo is truly sending me to a different universe. But she truly was unashamed of her game. She truly was. I am also starting to feel as if Lizzie's marriages were mostly all for businesses and convenience and never truly of love. At least for her second, third, and fourth, and fifth. I stand by with the fact that I think there was actual love with her and Jeremy, and that's why she always went back to Lape in the end. We are at 5 failed marriages and 2 children, and we aren't at all finished with Lizzie's life. I thought that getting into her life, we would be just looking at the typical life of a red light madam. But it seems that Lizzie's life was far more complicated than originally thought to be. Well, friends, that's where we'll pause Lizzie's story for today. From high-stakes drama to whirlwind romances, Lizzie's life continues to be a masterclass in ambition, resilience, and a touch of chaos. It's clear that no matter how many obstacles are thrown her way, our girl Lizzie keeps finding new ways to thrive and sometimes stir up a little trouble in the process. Now, as we wrap up part 3, I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on Lizzie's journey so far? Do you think she made her moves out of love, ambition, or a little mix of both? I want to know what you think. So let's keep the conversation going down below. And here's how to stay connected. follow us on social media. You'll find behind the scenes tidbits, episode teasers, and some extra spicy historical content that didn't make it into the show. Find us on Paying For It Media, Instagram, X, TikTok at Paying For It Media. Visit our website at payingforitmedia.com. You'll find full episodes, transcriptions, additional resources about Lizzie's life, and even more exclusive bonus content. And please leave a review. If you're enjoying the wild ride, please take a moment to leave a review wherever you're listening, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or another platform. Your reviews help us both reach more history buffs, scandal lovers, and curious minds alike. And while you're at it, share the podcast with your friends. Everyone deserves to know the stories of Lizzie Lape, the queen of reinvention and rebellion. Lastly, make sure to tune in next week as we dive into part 4 of Lizzie's story. Things are about to heat up even more as Lizzie continues to defy expectations, expand her empire, and maybe even spark a scandal or two. Trust me, you will not want to miss it. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Lizzie's life and the vibrant, chaotic world she keeps inhabiting. Until next time, keep it sassy, keep it smart, and as always, stay curious. See you soon. Goodbye.
I got something between my legs gonna make a dead man come out. I got something between my legs gonna make a dead man come out.